right, let's get started. Everybody hit that like. Come on, help me out here. What's happening? Oh, great. Let's go. It's showtime. It's showtime. Come on. If my buttons work. They do. Hey, look at that. And I think the audio's in sync and the scene works. Maybe. All right. Hey, welcome to the show. It's, what are we, day 2 of the RNC, and the best is yet to... Let me try that again. Okay, what is, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, by the way, chat room, hi, how are you? Thanks for being here. Chat room, if I may, hello, and you're wonderful. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, patreon.com/houseparks, support the show, or, I'm just saying, if the forces of evil win, it's all your fault. No pressure. I'm just kidding. All right, so, what's my favorite part of the RNC so far, besides me being right about everything all the time, however sad that is. And what did somebody just say? I love. We are dead. Trump has been normalized. Biden has been neutralized. The prestige. No. No. I want you to take a deep breath and relax. Not at all. Biden has not been neutralized. Trump has not been normalized. There are drastic attempts to make that happen. It's not going to work. If you'll recall, both in I suppose less so in 2020, but certainly in 2016, even after he was a sexist frigging pig and all that stuff around Hillary Clinton and the like, there was around the RNC. My goodness, isn't he going to be presidential? My goodness, isn't it about time? And then Democrats were attacking Hillary in the lead up to that. And when I say Democrats, I don't really mean Democrats. I mean TYT and their fellow traveler assholes. But there was this idea that, like, Democrats we don't shy away from criticizing both our party, our country, and what have you. There's a thin line between warts and all and just warts, which I feel like is something that a lesson that we need to learn a little bit. But ultimately, that the exact same thing played out. The difference is at that time, Donald Trump was an unknown entity. We were like, I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe we need somebody to shake shit up. And everybody went, oh my God, I don't want my shit shaken up. Quite frankly, that's a terrible idea, and fuck that. And he lost horribly in 2020 because we were in the middle of the shit he shook up, right? Okay. Same thing as now. And the numbers that were saying, oh my God, red tsunami, were worse in the 2022 lead up than they are now in the polling. Polling knows, and especially... Like, McLaughlin, I think Trump's favorite pollster, was literally on, I want to say, was it Joey Pag's show or something, as a guest. Like, when's the last time you saw a fucking head of it was on, where was it? On Real America's Voice. Hold on, I'll show you real quick. We don't have to do the clip because it's a waste of fucking time. But, because there's nothing really discussed. This is McLaughlin. This is John Fredericks, who's filling in, I guess. And this is a show called Outside the Beltway on RAV. This is the McLaughlin, that's the guy who does the polling. When's the last time you saw any of the other polling? Where's the head of the Ipsos crowd being interviewed on a right-wing network talking about how, like, his heart swelled when he saw Donald Trump walk into a room? Get the fuck out of here. It does look a bit like Stuttering John. I think Stuttering John could do a great McLaughlin impersonation if he wanted to go for it. I think that'd be hilarious. It's a smart idea. He could totally scam the maggots with that. He can use that at it all he wants. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you guys is that poll jacking is a thing, and it's increasingly become an industry. You'll recall, and we'll get into our clips, and I want to remind everybody, hit that like right away. And Stoic Optimism 99 says, can you talk about Biden calling the wife of the rally goer killed, but Trump has yet to call her? Important to make the distinction. You rock, Hal. Yes, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, Biden called to offer his sympathy to the wife of the man who was killed. She did not take the call because she thought it would be against her dead husband's wishes. Rest his soul. Sorry that he was in a situation where I'm all I'm going to say is lines from No Country for Old Men keep going through my head about if the rule is why you ended up where you are, what good was the rule? But on top of that, he called and at least offered his sympathies. She did not take the call because of it. Whatever. Okay, it's nuts, but whatever. Her husband just died, and her husband was like violently opposed to anybody who wasn't Jeffrey Epstein's wingman. I don't get it, but I'm not supposed to because I wouldn't show up at one of those. I could have been there. If that happened at Vegas, I would have been in danger, and I would have been there not because I was there supporting Trump, right? So nobody's for any of this shit. But, well, I'm sure somebody is, but nobody's sane. That said, she turned down Biden's call. Trump has not called her. Not yet. They've also set up like a GoFundMe for the families of the victims for their health care and for funeral costs and some other stuff or whatever. I don't know why they would have to if Donald Trump is a billionaire. It's not like you incentivize people to get shot at your things if you just give them money and you go, dear God, that's horrifying. I'm giving a gift to this family of $2 million so that they can, it will never make up for the loss of their husband and their father, but, hopefully this will set their family up and I'm horrified and blah, blah, blah. You could absolutely do that. There's nothing that would stop you, right? And you can't create a situation where you would, incentivize people to come and get shot at your rallies. It's silly. So he just doesn't give a fuck. And if Eric had anything to do with it, my worry is that he'll skim 20% off the top. So, anyways, I want to be abundantly clear again, and I'm going to start the show this way, and we will operate from this this understanding. Biden's not leaving the race. He's going to win. Trump is going to lose. And between now and the election, Trump is just going to get worse. And if the only thing that's sort of been added to the last, to the equation in the last few days is that they've now got J.D. Vance out there who will also step in it. Do you understand? Like they have not yet begun to fuck up. The best is yet to So I don't want you guys to worry. I want you to be sharp and funny and interesting and proud to be Americans as we go into the election cycle. And the whole bullshit about that what does this guy climbing on a roof and shooting Trump say about our country? I'll tell you what it says. It says we have 340 million people. There's some nutcases out there. Republicans have some work to do because they will let anybody have a fucking gun. They obviously targeted this guy. Turns out that his family was on like a secret database of pro-gun lunatics that that maggots and the Trump campaign were focusing on in 2016, right? So they've got some cleanup to do, but the rest of us are like, fuck that guy, and no, don't do this. Especially Democrats. And we know that the crowd is too big in America and there are too many diverse voices out there to say nobody's for this, right? Obviously, Kyle from Tenacious D made a joke on stage and that ended their tour. Do I think it should have ended their tour? No. Should he have known better? Absolutely. Should Jack be able to call him out on the carpet and say, fuck that and stop? Maybe. But that's up to them. It's not my... You clean up your mess your way. But here, in this house, no fucking way. Rudy fell down at the RNC. Do we have video of that? We'll see that later. That's not surprising. But, yeah, so... and then, I guess, Destiny has been shit-talking the dude who died because he was... whatever. And again... where there might be an argument about, Darwinism or irony that people can have, nobody deserves it. Right? I think we can all watch a situation where, somebody tries to feed snacks to a bear out their car window, and then the bear attacks the car and all that kind of stuff. And people will joke about whether or not that was a smart move or what have you. That's neither here nor there. It doesn't ever point to the fact that the person should have it coming. I'm just saying. And I don't care how anybody else talks. Over here, fuck that. That's how proud I am to be a Democrat, is I want everyone to vote. I'm the exact opposite of Paul Weyrich on every aspect. If you're a Republican, if you're a maggot out there and you love Donald Trump and you're a deluded, I don't know what, pro Jeffrey Epstein's wingman psychopath, whatever. As long as you don't victimize people, I don't really, I nor the state nor anyone else will have a say in it other than to call you an asshole. But here's what I can say. I want you to vote. I want you to participate in voting. I want everybody to vote. And when you lose fair and square, and you shut the fuck up. You get me? I don't want anybody going, it was stolen from me, and charging up the steps of some fucking place, right? That's why I want everybody involved, because if you're involved, you're at least going, I believe in the system, I'm committed to the system, and I will take my lumps as it goes, as we all have over the years when the candidate didn't go our way. You understand? Okay, and again, how other people talk about it, whether there's some fuck-ups out there saying other stuff, that's neither here nor there. It has nothing to do with you or me or anybody else. Fuck that shit. Go away. Nonsense. Blah, blah, blah. There's a world of weirdos out there that has no reflection, none, on what I say here and what goes. You understand? This is my show. I set the standard. Yes? We're good? All right. We're better than that. Absolutely. Now, the question is, are Republicans? Now, let's jump straight into probably the only real breaking news of the day, okay? That would be this little piece of business. RFK Jr. got a phone call from Trump, which, by the way, I think it says, like, Mr. Trump on here, if not the actual fucking number, like a douchebag, and he's holding it up while they're filming it, yeah? And this is Trump talking to RFK Jr. and RFK Jr.'s son, RFK the third. And by the way, I'm a third, I would like to say for the record. So don't drag all of us thirds down into the turd zone of what his kid posted. I'm just saying. That said, here it is. This is Trump talking to RFK Jr. And we'll break it down. Hold on. Why is that so fucking quiet? Hold on, let me try something. So quiet. Hold on, let me back this up. There you go. Now that's very quiet, and it's just the nature of the audio on here. So let me try and I'll boost it for a minute.
Over that whole system, and and it's a doctor issue. Remember, I said I want to do small doses. Small doses.
Okay, so there's something wrong with that whole something. It starts off, and they're talking about vaccines. And he goes, I want to do small doses. And I don't know what he's talking to, whether he's talking about when Barron got his vaccines or what have you. Now, let me be abundantly clear. When Donald Trump says, I will not give 1 penny of funding to any school with a vaccine mandate, yes, that includes polio and measles and whooping cough and any other number of diseases that used to kill lots of children. And, oh, by the way, not just the children, but the people at home who were older or had a compromised immune system or had consumption back in the day or whatever the fuck, a smallpox, right, that those kids would carry that disease home to, and then they'd all fucking die in like some very special Little House on the Prairie episode, right? So yeah, let's be abundantly clear that when he says, he doesn't say COVID vaccine because he wants credit for the COVID vaccine while he derides it. But the idea that he wouldn't give a cent of funding to any school that has a vaccine mandate, there's there's no school in the country that would survive a winter without a vaccine mandate of some sort. I'm telling you, whether it was measles or something else, they would have one outbreak and dozens of dead children, and that would be the end of the experiment. Just for the record. But there's a very specific reason that when he says it, he means COVID. He means a COVID vaccine. But he wants credit for the COVID vaccine, so he doesn't say it. He just says vaccines in general, which paints him into a corner of this weird RFK zone.
When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that is like...
When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination...
38 different vaccines.
Which is like 38 different vaccines. Now, full disclosure, when my son was born, we paced his vaccinations, not because we thought there's going to be some big danger to them, but just because if you have a reaction, you might not know which batch it was from, so we divided it up into 2 batches. You know what I mean? His first round and then his second round. That's really fucking common, right? It's not that weird because your kid's new and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't mean you're not going to have them. And it also doesn't mean that stacking them is the problem. Get the fuck out of here. And, the other thing, too, because it was like 4 days apart or something. The other thing is, this motherfucker didn't have anything to do, Trump in particular. I have no idea what Robert Kennedy's parental life is like other than he was whacked out on heroin during most of his kids' childhoods, fucking around on his wife. But by his own admission. Again, RFK Jr.'s biography, read it. It makes Hunter Biden look like Mr. Rogers. But Trump himself said raising children, is woman's work. Wiping asses and changing diapers and doing all that stuff. He didn't give a fuck about any of that stuff. Seriously, at all. That's something you outsource to the woman until she outlives her usefulness. You find a younger model, and I guess you bury her on a fucking golf course.
Looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or 20-pound baby.
Also, what the fuck are you talking about? Looks like it's made for would they give Eric his vaccines on a sugar cube? What the fuck do you mean it looks like it was made for a horse? First of all, Trump never saw it. If he's seen it, he's watched a movie about anti-vax shit that somebody else showed him, and it was a close-up of a needle, and so he thinks that a close-up means the thing is bigger because he's that fucking dumb.
Looks like you should be giving a horse this, and do you ever see the size of it, right? It's this massive, and then you see the baby.
No, it isn't. And, by the way, Robert F. Kennedy is never short on, interjecting and putting his own kind of 2 cents in any of this shit. And he's relatively quiet while Trump is talking like this because he knows he's talking, that they're recording this. He's letting Trump sound like a dickhead. He's letting Trump sound dumber than he sounds about vaccines on purpose. Which is kind of great because they kind of deserve each other.
All of a sudden starting to change radically. I've seen it too many times. And then you hear that it doesn't...
by the way, what the fuck does that mean? You give this kid a shot that's meant for a horse, and then suddenly you see the child change radically. I've seen it too many times. He didn't even watch his own kids fucking grow up. What are you talking about? And again, this is where somebody, Dinesh D'Souza type, shows him a movie about something that's totally fictionalized and full of kind of like curtailed bullshit. And he thinks he was a one-to-one witness.
Doesn't have an impact, right?
Oh, and by the way, somebody just mentioned in the chat room, I don't know if it was a troll or if somebody meant, but that RFK Jr. took this down after it went up. I got news for you. That's how you do it now. You put it up. It's out permanently, and then you go, oh, I didn't mean to do that. That's terrible. And it's everywhere. What are you talking about? You think he did this was innocent because he took it down Afterwards? Okay, that's fine. I'm not accusing anybody. I just saw it go by quickly. But I'm abundantly clear. Like, he took it down after he left it up long enough for everybody else to grab it. Yeah.
But you and I talked about that a long time ago. And anyway, I would love you to do something. And I think it'll be so good for you and so big.
Oh, by the way, the reason why he's calling him too. Why is Donald Trump calling RFK Jr.? Why? If RFK Jr. is stealing votes from Biden, how does that help if he moves over to Trump land? How would joining in with Trump or saying I'm going to join him in his cabinet or run the fucking CDC or something on his behalf, any of that shit, why would that ever help against Biden? If he's stealing votes from Biden and he goes over to the Trump side, all the people who he was stealing those votes will snap back to Biden and go, he's a fucking lunatic, and he's on Trump's side. If they were ready to go to Trump, they'd already gone to Trump. Right? The reason he's calling him is because he knows RFK Jr. is a threat to Trump's vote base, that he's stealing votes from Trump. Trump wants those votes back. Have you seen Biden do videos about like, hey, I wouldn't trust RFK Jr. as far as I could throw him. I don't think he's legit in what he believes. He doesn't have to, because he's not taking any votes from him. Trump has. Trump's put out, what have we seen, like 4 videos, not including this one, where Trump is shitting on RFK Jr., either in an interview or one of those ones that he does straight from Mar-a-Lago. Right? That's why he's calling him. He's trying to cling to those fucking votes. And understand this. The same week he's calling him about this shit, they're talking about this stuff, Don Jr. was on, I don't know whether it was RAV or one of the other channels, Newsmax maybe, saying that the election is not in the bag. It is not a sure thing, because that's been the talk. Everywhere is like, well, it's settled. Once he got his ear clipped, everybody's going to want to vote for him like he's a fucking, weepy-eyed cat in a Sarah McLachlan, Humane Society ad. And it's not happening. He's calling him because he wants RFK Jr. to stop running and endorse him so that those votes shift back to him.
And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're way ahead of the guy.
Nope. By the way, 538 just put Biden ahead for the first time since May in the electoral college count. And again, narrower than it actually is. When was this called? I believe it was when they talked about, I'm not 100% sure because they leaked it now, but I think it was after the assassination. I think like our attempt, RFK, either called him or vice versa. They spoke.
And, he's interesting. It was very nice, actually. He called me and he said...
this is after, because he's talking about Biden calling him. That's what this part is.
How did you choose to move to the right? So I guess that's, people say,
the other thing, too. Wait a second. Back this up. Listen to this shit. Okay, so this is where he's telling RFK Jr. what Biden said to him.
Have an impact, right? But you and I talked about that a long time ago. And anyway, I would love you to do something. And I think it'll be so good for you and so big for you. And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're way ahead of the guy. And, he's interesting. It was very nice, actually. He called me and he said, how did you choose to move to the right? So I guess that's, people say, if I was looking.
First of all, nobody's but there's, I won't say nobody because probably a bunch of people asked him this. Biden did not ask his fucking question, this question. Biden did not ask him, how did you decide to move your head to the right at the last minute? Seriously. There is no fucking way Biden's like, let me ask you a question. Well, I'm checking on you and telling you that Jill and I are keeping you in our prayers. Why'd you turn your head at the last second? Never fucking happened. Didn't happen. Just fucking goofy. I don't doubt that somebody else did, and Trump in his jelly brain state is mixing people up that he talked to on the phone and doesn't care, or he's trying to plant some sort of conspiracy theory idea that somebody like Alex Jones can run with that says, oh, did you see that? Biden asked him why he turned his head because they're going to try again, right? It's fucking stupid. There's no fucking way. Zero chance that Biden said, why'd you turn your head at the last second?
Straight up, man.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. He did not turn his head. He also did not turn his head. He was looking over this way the whole time. He was discussing the chart, and he kept doing it. There was no surprise. He was referencing something to his right that he'd been doing for a couple of minutes. They put that graphic up. They knew they were going to do it. If anything, you want to be conspiratorial about it, why the guy wait to shoot when the target was this narrow when he was talking to this thing versus sideways when he could have shot the rest of the time anytime he wanted to because he was looking straight ahead? It's just fucking stupid. It's tears in his eyes. Tears in his eyes, I guess, as he lined up the shot. He came up to me and said, "Sir, Gunga, Gunga, Galunga, Galunga, Gunga."
He said, I said, I was just showing a chart. I didn't have to tell him the chart was on all the people pouring into our country, right? But
I didn't have to tell him that.
Oh, by the way, when I played this for Summer earlier, because it was on Twitter or whatever, Summer was like, it sounds like the impersonator. It sounds like the guy from SNL doing Trump. And she's like, that guy deserves a raise if it's not him, because it sounds just like him.
I just turned my head to show the chart, and something wrapped me. It felt like a giant, like the world's largest mosquito. And it was a bullet going right.
Yes, it was. It was the world's largest mosquito. Literally.
What do they call that? An AR-15 or something?
Or something. What do they call that? I mean, you can't blame him as a Republican former president and candidate for the presidency. How would he even know anything about some rifle-y thingy thing called the AR something or other? What do they call it? What do they call it? I don't even know. Would you even know? I don't know. Nobody knows. What do they call it? Jesus Christ. If this was a Democrat and they went, what's it called? An AR-15? They go, this guy doesn't even know the fucking thing that was fired upon him. Or whatever. Also, it was an AR-15 style rifle. We have no confirmation that it's the exact same, that's actually an AR-15, right? They're different models, different companies, whatever.
Giant, like the world's largest mosquito.
Which, by the way, is how I describe Trump. Just like a bloodsucker and a real annoyance. Just the world's largest mosquito. Just go away. We're trying to have a picnic.
And it was a bullet going right. What do they call that? An AR-15 or something? That was a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
Yeah, they're pretty tough guns. You can open a beer with them. You can use them to lift a manhole cover or whatever. If you need to prop your car up, you can. Oftentimes people jack their car up and they're like, hey, I'm worried the jack isn't strong enough, so let's stick the AR-15 underneath the wheel well in case it comes off. Yeah, it's a super butch gun. Just fucking stupid. By the way, I would like to point out that full uncut version of that video that was posted, that, again, RFK Jr. posted and then took down, and that is supposed to be an attack on Trump and was a betrayal of Trump to release this thing or whatever, was posted on Lanny Walnuts' fucking Rumble page. Like, without commentary. Just straight up grabbed it and reposted it. Thanks, Lanny Walnuts, you fucking tool. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Lanny Walnuts is, he's one of the Flashpoint prophets that is always wrong. Yeah. Yeah, RFK Jr.'s son, the RFK the third, posted the video, and then it was up for a little while, long enough for people to grab it, and then they pulled it down, right? Just so that they could pretend they were upset about it, and other people could release it on their behalf, like Lanny Walnuts. It's kind of like, let's see, let's see if I can find this. B-roll Mitch McConnell unlisted video. Something like that. This is a long time ago. See if I can find this. But there was footage of, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, it's so long ago, that Mitch McConnell had an ad campaign that he was doing. I don't know if you remember this. You're not supposed to coordinate between a campaign and a super PAC. So what they'll do is they want footage that of the candidate, and they want that's royalty free, that the super PAC can use. So what they do is they put a channel up unlisted of all these different, of the candidate themselves, with their family walking around. Ted Cruz did the same shit. And then it's an unlisted channel, so anybody could technically find it if they stumble across it, but they keep it hidden. And then what they do is somebody on the down low calls the super PAC and says, "Here's the fucking URL. Go pick this up." And then they grab the footage and they use it in their ads. So it's no technical coordination because nobody can ever trace the phone call that gave them that thing or how they got it. They just discovered the footage online and used it freely. Oh, it was posted. Somebody posted it. Somebody put it up there. And so we just used it for our ads, right? It's that kind of stuff. Okay, similar thing. Think of this as sort of the rat fucking version. Yeah, it's not, well, the dark web isn't, chat room, the dark web's not what that is. Dark web is literally where shit is just hidden below the radar on all fronts. This is just unlisted YouTube stuff. Let's see. Let's see. This video of, Mitch. Oh, no. Whoops. Yeah, there's so much stuff of Mitch McConnell freezing that it eats up. Like, I'd have to scroll back through years of shit to find that stuff, and it's probably been taken down ever since. But you get the point. Yeah, don't forget Trump and offer RFK position as government. Yeah, well, that's exactly it. This is I guess some sort of leverage that RFK thinks he would have after all this. Okay, now. Lanny Walnuts, for those of you that don't know, this is Lanny Walnuts. Lanny is a preacher, sort of. He's got, well, does he have the worst toupee on Flashpoint? Yeah. I mean, it's the most obvious one. How about that? It's, what I mean? There may be worse ones on there, but they're more consistent. Anyways, so Lanny Walnuts is going to fill us in after helping RFK Jr. leak footage to fuck with Trump. He put up this video, Trump assassination attempt, unraveling the truth behind the shots fired. Well, that fucking settles it. Hey, we've all been wondering, what the shit? And again, why are Democrats on the hook for a Republican shooting at another Republican? I don't know what this fucking has to do with any of us, but apparently it does. But we'll see. Let's see. This is and he's got it down. It's 4 minutes. Crime solved in 4 minutes. It's like the Cliff Notes of a Columbo episode.
If you try to bankrupt the guy and
Whoa, this is loud. Hold on. And I also don't know what this is where it starts.
You try to bankrupt the guy and he survives. You try to impeach him and he survives.
Also, no, he hasn't survived the bankruptcy. They're just getting started. He's also already bankrupt.
If you try to lock him up and the Supreme Court says you can't, and then you try to, what's left? I mean, indict, lock up.
That's it. That's all there is to it. You can punt his cases, but he's going to go to jail for that shit.
Assassinate? That's...
Right, okay. So this is where a couple of people have gone like, oh, they've tried all this other stuff and it didn't work. Which, by the way, it did. It's even the fucking classified documents case got punted by Eileen Cannon because she knows she can't be on the case when he's found guilty, or she's, quite frankly, a dead woman or has no future. If she wants any future, as a living, breathing human being in the world of crazy maggots that are out there, or even if she wants to be Supreme Court justice or have a big federal bench, like get a raise later or get appointed to something else or head the DOJ or whatever her fantasy of where she's going to go after this. If she wants any of that, she cannot be the judge that presided over Trump being found guilty. And any judge who presides over this case is going to be the judge that presides over a case where Trump is found guilty. She's seen the evidence, and she can't recuse herself because maggots will also attack her as, oh, she recused herself so that they would let somebody else in to attack, and she's just as guilty in that situation. This is her only way out. The only way Eileen Cannon survives this, in her mind or anyone else's, is that she ditches this. We'll do the Lester Holt interview as well tonight. But she wants to recuse. She wants to get out of there, but she can't because maggots will attack her. And she can't stay on because, again, he's going to be found guilty, right? So both of those things. So what she does is she dismisses the case. She can't do it with prejudice because the prosecution didn't do anything wrong. So she does it based on this like really specious legal argument that will easily get overturned, and she can fuck off and go, not my problem anymore. And again, you and I, Democrats on this side, aren't ever going to give her a fucking break on this or forget this or anything. But maggots, from now on, she's off the hook. She's not responsible for when Trump becomes, is found guilty. She tried to save him. That's how they're going to look at it. This is a maggot recusal, is what we saw. Yeah, it was 98 pages of bullshit. It's never going anywhere. Of course, they have the right to appoint special counsels. It's just dumb. It's not going anywhere. They're not going to undo it. It's nonsense. And the case will continue. Also, the evidence doesn't change just because the prosecutor was put in that place, because the prosecutor is not the detective, for example. In a special counsel, they'll gather all the evidence and they'll present the case. But the crime itself still exists. If you're on trial for murder and your prosecutor gets fired because they shouldn't have been, because their election was wrong, or because they I don't know, the DA's office didn't have the budget to hire somebody else, and they did some fucking budget shenanigans to fire 2 other people and then hired a prosecutor because they needed him, and that person gets kicked off. It doesn't mean you're innocent of murder anymore. Fuck off. Hi, New Mexico. What's happening? All right, so anyways, back to Lanny Walnuts. No one on the Democratic side tried to kill Donald Trump. A Republican shot at a Republican. That's it. That has nothing to do with us. This has the Trump assassination plot, all of it, the failures, every aspect of it, have fuck all to do with Democrats. It doesn't have anything to do with like vitriol on our side, calling Trump a Hitler, or pointing to the fact that he was Jeffrey Epstein's wingman. Has nothing to do with us. Just for the record.
Well, Tucker Carlson even said it.
Oh, well, if Tucker Carlson said it, and he said that Russia's doing great.
What do they have left as an option?
Try him again, vote him out. Again, if you're gonna say this is the last ditch effort to knock him off, you would think it would be like the week before he's sworn in, right? You would wait at least till the election because it's a wash, right? Because even if you were like, oh, I will knock him off, and then whoever they're going to run won't be enough, and then they find a vibrant maggot that will do what I'm going to carry on everything Trump said. I've got a copy of Art of the Deal and Mein Kampf, and I will read them equally and carry it out. And they'll go, hooray, hooray, Charlie Kirk and J.D. Vance will be the perfect ticket. And then they actually get in. Where does that leave you? Right? Maybe that's not a wash. I think it is, but what if it isn't? That's kind of a big fucking gamble, right? What at that point, what if And this is previous to him announcing that it's going to be Vance. So at that point, it's Burgum. So what's the idea that people are going to knock him off? So Burgum's the guy? What the fuck are you talking about?
So we're going to continue to pray for him. It's a lot of weird questions going on.
Well, you can pray for Trump all you want to, and I do recommend it if you pray. But if you're praying for him to find clarity, you're wasting your breath.
Here, I mean, not the least.
And God's time.
Least of which is we're in Butler, Pennsylvania, right? So I'm from Pennsylvania. It's a city of 12,000. If you look at the setup there, there's like only one roof, 250 yards away, facing where.
Hold on. There's only one roof, 250 yards away. No, there isn't. There's the bandstand area. There's a roof. 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 How about the fucking water tower? Let's just go back to this point. Maybe it wasn't a singular failure of fucking the Secret Service in this situation or the cops in the surrounding area. It's the fact that Donald Trump, because he doesn't pay his fucking bills, can't do indoor arenas or big theaters or wherever he would use the space because he doesn't pay for the cleanup afterwards because he's a fucking asshole. And so he has to do them in these fucking giant backyard farm areas or on private airport fields, right? Or his own golf courses. And there's shit ton of places to do awful around here. You fucking out of your mind? Look at the water tower. Maybe, just maybe, this dipshit didn't have this like, oh my God, I think I can get him because there was one roof. It's because there's 16 of them. Shit, if I can't get on that roof, I'll just climb the water tower. Like, this is fucking dumb. There were not snipers on the water tower. If there were, we would be hearing about how they were the ones that actually got the guy. Because if you're on the water tower, you would have seen the guy on the roof right there. Here's the thing. It wasn't that, oh my God, there was one perfect spot that he managed to find. There's a dozen of them. This is fucking ridiculous. And the reason it's so fucking wide open and why Trump's life was in danger is because his cheap ass campaign and his broke fucking family wants to save all the money they can on these events by having vendors pay for space and all this shit, right? And so they just have them out in the middle of these goddamn fields where they don't have to pay for anything. They have some asshole who owns a farm donate the space because they're a big maggot, right? And they show up in these places and there's no way to cover it. If you can draw anything from this picture that people are sharing all over the fucking place, anything at all, it's that there isn't one roof that has a perfect view of Donald Trump that, oh my God, how did they not see this? It was a slope roof and there's a slope roof and blah, blah, blah. Isn't any of that. There's fucking 8, 10 different vantage points, all within the range of the rifle. He was even closer than he needed to be. If this asshole was as smart and as coordinated as they said, if he was back 2 rooftops, if he was not in the one right there where he was, if he was like 2 roofs back, they never would have seen him. This whole idea like, oh my God, how did a 20-year-old manage to blah-blah-blah? No, it has nothing to do with that. How the fuck are Trump's people, his advance team for the campaign, so fucking stupid that they pick an area like that and think it can be covered? How'd he miss? Because he was spooked and rushed, it looked like. Remember that cop came up there and he pointed his rifle at him and then he had to get up and he had to clear over the top of the roof and he only had a couple of seconds. He had like 8 seconds to steady and fire. And again, killing somebody's hard. It's natural to almost anybody, especially the first time they do it. This guy had no history of crime. It's going to make you hesitate. That hesitation is what gave him, and he cracked off a bunch of shots. He didn't, and again, he's in an AR. It's not a hunting rifle per se. It's more of a mid-range rifle, but still it would have been fine within that range. And that's how it happened. That's how I think it happened. It doesn't fucking matter. The reality is, if he'd have fired from 2 roofs back, he'd have killed him. And they never would have. The fucking people that spotted him wouldn't have seen him. Yeah, he still clipped him even at that speed. But what I'm saying is this is not some sort of like, oh my God, it was a brilliant plan. Oh my God, how could it be possible? The question isn't how could it be fucking possible. The question is how could the campaign not know that this is an unsecure area? There's no fucking way. Anyways, this aggravates me because everybody seems to be like, especially Glenn Beck and others are pointing out like, hey, how did he get clear of this roof and know that the roof like bullshit. He had a fallback. He could have been on the fucking water tower. Again, if he'd been in the water tower, nobody'd have fucking seen him until it was too late. Again, it doesn't take it. It wasn't a genius plan. It wasn't some sort of amazing, like, how'd he manage to do this thing? It's just the campaign's fucking lazy. The Secret Service around him are full of either sycophants or they're mixing with locals, or they think all the gun nuts are on our side, which is also why they're fucking lax about this shit. Good Lord.
He is. And nobody was on the roof. I mean, they had Secret Service agents like set behind Trump, but there's nobody on the roof around him. There's going to be a lot of questions going to be asked about that.
They already are. Not gonna. Everybody already has. And again, there were so many opportunities for places for somebody like him to do it that he almost picked the worst spot. Of the available areas where he could have laid down and shot at Trump, he picked the weakest spot, the most visible, the closest. If he was more of a trained shot, he would have been further back. It's all slapdash bullshit.
But that's not your concern. I mean, of course, people in the natural want to go there. They want to say, was this a setup? Well, when that roof isn't secure, it makes you wonder who the heck was, not checking the roof. And you have people in the crowd going, look, shooter, shooter, shooter. And it's like, well, police, what are you talking about? Well, and not that the police were in on it. It's just that they were.
Well, of course they had to be. What do you mean, of course they weren't in on it? Of course they had to be, right? They're either, massive fuck-ups or in on it, according to you guys. This is a binary. There's no humanity in any of this shit. They were in the building. They were underneath him.
At an angle where they couldn't see, but you would think, what do you have to do? You got to go rush a policeman, create an incident in order to kind of, create a, hey, what's going on over there? And, get yourself arrested to say there's a shooter on the roof. It makes you wonder, how far would you go if you could see something like that?
Well, I would argue that there are a bunch of people that did precisely that. Also, why would they have to go that far? Oh, right, because the Trump campaign is full of a bunch of lazy, self-involved, narcissistic gun nuts who think that all the dangerous people are on their side.
Try to alert. Anyway, there might be more than one shooter.
Right, which is why you don't let Trump stick his arm up and go, fight, because he's in danger. But, fuck that.
Now, if there were 7 shots from a...
What is he, Lori Dan?
AR-15 rifle from a sniper position, lying prone like this at a target. 8.
Why are you holding a birthday card with a spatula on it as an example of your... Is that your AR-15? Fucking hell. Sorry, am I loud or is he loud?
Shots.
Oh, sorry, he's loud.
If there were 2 shooters, which is, we're not sure yet, there wasn't 2.
Yes, we are. We are. I don't know when he posted this, but yeah, we are.
That might explain a little bit why there was 2 wounded, 1 killed. Now, it looks like one person...
No, it isn't. The reason why there were 2 wounded and 1 killed is because whoever was shooting at Trump had a bunch of people behind him to act as bullet catchers. What are you talking about?
Person was being apprehended in the crowd and dragged off by the police. So, is there a second gunman?
They weren't apprehending anybody, you dumb motherfucker. They were carrying somebody away who was wounded.
Was there more than one shooter? These have to come out. Why wasn't that roof being covered? 150.
Okay, first of all, just for the record, let's start with what we actually know, in that this asshole is a preacher who argues on Flashpoint on the regular that God personally tells him what's going to happen. Okay? Let's just understand that this has to all be viewed under the context that this motherfucker thinks that he is a prophet, not just a preacher, but a prophet. The Lord Almighty tells him what's going to happen. Now, we have watched over the last couple of years where this asshole amongst the other guys on Flashpoint have all argued that Trump was going to be reinstalled as president and that they were going to redo the election and Biden wasn't really elected and all this kind of shit. And none of it played out. So you have to take this in the same context as this. So either he's a liar about getting messages from God, which, I mean, I don't want to have to tell you what side of the argument I'm on, or the other possibility is that God hates Lanny Walnuts and likes making him look like an asshole. Both work for me. I gotta say. Was it an AR-556? No, the ammo is 5.56. It was an AR-15 style rifle, which just means it had a fucking magazine on it.
200
Semi-automatic rifle with a fucking whatever 30-round magazine on it.
yards away. Why was it facing, it looked to me like an aerial shot. I got a picture of it. It's the closest building to the stadium. It's kind of weird to the stage. But what's amazing to me is 8 shots, different angles. And Trump moved in such a way.
By the way, there's JFK Jr. You'll notice from where Trump is, he's back and to the left. I'm sorry, I can't stop pointing that out. You don't think aren't they trying to, If the deep state is trying to tell us something, why aren't they trying to tell us that? He's back and to the left of Trump, just in case you're wondering.
Moved from his right to his left, back again. His head moved in such a fraction of a motion that his ear had a bullet. Think about it. Not an ear, not a bullet that went through his ear like this, or like that, or like that. But a bullet goes like that.
It went like that. Or it could have just when he felt it whiz by, put his hand up, fell to the ground, and his fingernail or part of the stage or something on the stage itself when they were covering him cut his head, and that's when he got up.
Means
we won't know because they won't release any of it. They won't go, yes, the bullet grazed this part of his ear. He got 1 stitch and blah, blah, blah. Which is, by the way, if it was Biden or if it was Obama or God forbid anybody else, they would have gone, here's what happened. And there'd be a drawing on fucking CNN the next day using the doctor's notes about how the bullet went right past here and it clipped part of his hair and there was a da-da-da and this picture, right? You'd see all of it. We have seen none of this shit.
the bullet literally came within a hair's breadth of killing him.
No, it didn't. It came within an ear's breadth of killing him, in theory. Or grazing him, or lodging in his skull, or hitting him in the shoulder, or catching some neck fat, or...
That's how you know you're praying and the Holy Ghost makes sense.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, is that how you know? Because it misses you by a little bit and kills a father of two? That's how you know? Lanny, that's how you know? Yeah, that's how you know your prayers are working better than his are? Fuck you.
Praying for this guy. And it's weird how it stirs.
So it's weird how you go, maybe I should have prayed for the people there, but fuck them.
Up the strangest responses. I mean, it really unmasks you. If you're on the left, if you look at the Twitter field, you look at you almost had to put on a hazmat suit and go into the subterranean world of I do it every now and then lately. I shouldn't. It's not good for my mental health. But
Sorry, it upsets it upsets you, perhaps, that people call for violence in general. Well, I would stay off Twitter in general, but
engage these people.
But so obviously you basically go in there just to castigate Republicans for being violent and saying we have to get over school shootings and shit like that, right?
And they're all whack on the left. I mean, I run into some right extremists, but usually they're conspiracy oriented, or they kind of like, got a little rednecky.
But a little rednecky and conspiracy. But enough about J.D. Vance.
They're nothing like
yeah, there's something like violent
trash and crazy demonic stuff on the left. They're literally deranged. I mean, they're dangerously deranged. And but
well, then if they're dangerously deranged, why was a Republican that took a shot at him?
What we have now is a moment when you see the heightened exposure of the left, which is what I've said all along.
Why? What? Said all again. This is kind of perfect. Listen to this sentence. Listen to this. What I've said all along.
But what we have now is a moment when you see the heightened exposure of the left, which is what I've said all along. What's going to be happening this year?
Yes, remember, he's a prophet.
Here is the fruit and the root of
the fruit and the root. All right, I'm steering clear of jokes.
What's happening in America is going to get exposed.
The fruit and the root of what's happening in America is going to be exposed. Well, apparently it's been exposed, Lanny Walnuts, as Republican on Republican crime. That you fuckers are so violent that if you can't take it out on one of us, you take it out on each other. Which is exactly why you shouldn't run shit. Good Lord. What a fucking asshole. All right, but that is the generalized nature of the thoughts about this shit. Here, we'll go to Lana Douche right now. Check this out. So, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc., etc. There's the Venmo, and there's also patreon.com/HouseParks. It's the HouseParks Megaworldwide. I do a morning show Monday, Wednesday, Friday as well, but every afternoon, 3 o'clock, 3 to 5-ish. I'm on live streaming Pacific time, and then Saturday with a radio show. Let's, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, maybe show you. This is Lana Douche, big gun nut. Lana Douche, very, very gun friendly. Her entire political existence has always been a big pro-gun. And especially like pro-gun nut broadcaster, like NRA, I don't know if she's NRA official or adjacent for a long time, whatever. Yeah, she's fucking cuckoo. And yes, hit that like, by the way. We should have 666 likes at least on the show at this point, if I may. If you're on Facebook, show me your love by using the angry emoji about the show at some point, because that helps us immensely. And I want to thank the trolls for being here as well. You guys spread us to a part of the algorithm we couldn't get to naturally. So without you, we'd be stuck in this little cul-de-sac. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so this is how'd this happen. Lana Douche, they, ladies and gentlemen, they, instead of this dude, this asshole, this loner, this whatever, they almost killed Donald Trump. Let me tell you something. If there was a they, his plane wouldn't land. You understand? You think this is how they, if there was a they, this is the same Alex Jones shit we see. If there was a they out there, they wouldn't use a bullet. They wouldn't have to. But I'm curious. Maybe she means the rhinos. Maybe she means, because a lot of them do mean that. When they say they mean like Mitch McConnell. Let's see.
And watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him.
This guy in his 2020 hat, and like obviously, politically, I would have like very colorful conversations with this asshole, right? No question. And he with me, right? No question. But let me say this unequivocally. This asshole saw a dude on a roof with a gun and tried to do something about it. Good for him. And he arguably saved lives while doing it. He was not able to be successful. He didn't stop everything because he couldn't, but he did everything he could to try and stop that guy within his ability, right? And he very well saved lives. So good for him and good on him for at least fucking trying. And this again, this goes to I would rather Wayne Static lives. Yeah, he's cross between Wayne Static and Carrot Top. But just for the record, I clearly politically am nowhere near this dude, and I would think he was an asshole, and he would think the same of me. But good on him for doing everything he could to try and do something about this, because this would, there's no question this dude saved Trump's life, if not other people as well. Because his attention is what drew, he was the first guy to do it, drew attention to the shooter. That's what the person, the cop who went up on top and saw him, that's what hurried him and made him not have the best shot he could possibly take, right? That's what sped this whole thing up and made him miss, ultimately, was this dude. Donald Trump owes this dude, this isn't an act of God, Donald Trump owes this dude his fucking life. Period.
So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7.
And straight up Bethel fucking PA even got his fucking dip in his mouth.
7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, But we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof.
Bear crawling?
Of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on.
Right, because the Trump team didn't coordinate with the area ahead of time. And left it all to the Secret Service, because Trump and his people think all the gun nuts are on their side.
We're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof.
By the way, local PA station or BBC, you're not helping us by pulling back so that we can see your reporter. This is not necessary. I don't need to see this dude. This is not helping. Maybe you want his pointing hand in there, but he looks like one of the Vogons in, which is not a mistake, by the way, in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Standing there like this, and next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
Wow. That is
so wow.
It's a BBC interview with one of the guys that was right outside of the security perimeter, and
That's so weird.
They saw.
Oh my God, he saw it.
You could hear what he was saying. They saw
Yes, we could all hear what he was saying.
This guy accessing the rooftop. They saw him. And it wasn't just him. I think it was reported, 50 some odd bystanders saw this guy.
Oh yeah.
And they were for minutes trying to alert law enforcement about it.
Mm-hmm. In a Trump-friendly district. An area that Trump won. That's right. That Bethel area, Trump won that area. It's one of the rural areas, outside of Pittsburgh where Trump, he didn't win the city, but he won the outer areas, and that's why he had that gathering there, because in the city, he wouldn't get a crowd, and he'd get more protesters than actual people, so they had it in a fucking field in a place that he should already run away with. Because that's the other thing about these fucking Trump rallies we got to talk about. He only goes... the guy was from Bethel, is what I'm talking about, Butler itself. These are people, it's rural, right? These are areas he won, is my point. These are the areas that he won. He only goes to places he already has locked down. There's no outreach. He's not going to cities or areas where there's a mix of voters.
There's a great side-by-side. And first off, welcome back. We're at the bottom of this first hour. Dana
We are the very bottom.
Lash back from vacation with you. There was a great side-by-side video. It's a little long. I don't know if we want to play all of it, but it puts it in really sharp perspective.
Yeah, too much fucking perspective, really. Too much perspective, really.
And it's matched up perfectly. It was an account on X that did this.
Yeah, perfect.
And they matched up perfectly.
Perfectly.
The video from the bystanders that they took, where they were like, from the moment they saw the guy, and you can see on one side it's the bystanders video, and they're saying this is the moment they saw the guy on the roof, and then they were like, wait, that's not right, we need to tell law enforcement. From Trump speaking on the other side, and I want you, because this really puts it into realistic, sharp perspective.
What? Why do we need this? What do you mean? He was winged. He got ear clipped. What are you talking about? This is fucking dumb. We know what happened.
The amount of time that passed. I really want you to understand this. It's a little long. Please bear with me though, because.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm bored already though. Do I have to? Can you imagine, like, maggots at home that watch her show going, you're going to play 1 minute and 50 seconds of video of Trump, in the lead up of him getting shot and stuff? How is this exciting? How is this even interesting?
It will shock you. Watch this.
He was doing his job. I wouldn't even be doing this.
The left is the bystanders video.
Yes, we know.
The right is Trump.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there.
It's in sync with each other. Both videos.
Right there, see him? He's laying down. You see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
And still I'm here with you fighting like hell to get it.
Also, what I think you can also draw from this, not 75,000 people, not 20,000, not 15.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's
There he
not
is.
easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that should
get police. You see the guy's clear as day.
dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. And it's much tougher than it.
I mean, they're surrounded by police.
Ever. In recorded history, we're the best border. In fact, if they
Wait, you don't have other footage to cut to?
could
Yes,
ever
we know.
put up a chart, I don't know if they
It's all
can do it.
happening
You
at the
guys
same
have
time, both those
access to
videos.
that chart that I love so much. You don't mind if I go off
So they're telling
teleprompter, do you?
police.
Because these teleprompters are
All
so
that- that's why
damn
the
boring.
clock
I
is at the
try and
bottom.
explain that.
She's explaining why we know why the clock is at the bottom. You just ran out of footage.
The moment they first saw him,
Wow.
and they're telling
You
him
guys
while
are
this
doing
clock
it-
is
they're
running,
getting
police,
better
police,
with
there's a guy
time.
on the roof, there's a guy on the roof.
My guys, take a look at that chart.
Okay, so not turning his head. He's like, why did you turn your head right at that last second? Okay, this is where he first looks at the chart and starts talking about the chart.
Decent. And here's the side by side again. Here we go.
See the big red arrow,
50
right?
some odd bystanders. Right now, what they're doing is they're trying to tell police there's a guy on the roof with a gun. They could see the rifle.
Also, why are we looking at two shots from the same angle? What the fuck?
They're telling police. They're trying to get Secret Service. There's a guy.
We know. Why is she talking over this shit?
Guy on the roof with a gun.
Take a look at that. So that arrow
And it
is
was
the lowest
2 full minutes.
of illegal immigration
We're letting this.
Yes, he didn't just turn his head. He was looking that way the whole fucking time.
Clock run because I want
There was no miracle. There was no, oh my God, I turned my head at the last second. He was looking that way the whole time.
people to understand how long it was from the moment they spotted him.
Yes, look how long it was from when he fucking turned his head. Jesus made him turn his head at the last minute.
Until the first shots rang out.
Worst president in the history of our country.
And they're desperately trying to get police's attention the entire time. You can see people in the other video. They're running over. They know something's happening. And then there it is.
Yeah, that, again, he was looking that direction for a full fucking minute.
At that point, you could hear in the other video, people were screaming, there's a guy on the roof, there's a guy on the roof. And all hell breaks out.
Loose.
Don't tell me that you can't armchair quarterback this.
You certainly could. Does it do any good? No. Here's what I would go. I think it was a problem with the choice of venue to start with.
Do not tell me. First off, can I just tell you something about the area that he was speaking in?
No, I cannot tell you. You said you said do not tell me, so I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. I won't.
In Pennsylvania, these are people that know guns.
Mm-hmm. Well, within reason. I mean, obviously, his father knew guns, the shooter's father, and that's why he was on a secret database of Trump supporters that they could push with, like, extremist gun talk to try and get him to vote for Trump.
These are people that hunt.
Uh-huh.
A lot of these, I mean, this is veteran country where he was at. That's one of the reasons why, and I made this remark to a friend of mine.
I'm sure it was fascinating. Thank you for relating that story to us, because I'm sad that we weren't all there to catch the story.
Combat veteran. I said, I don't know, I kind of have a feeling that one of the reasons that, you know, a lot of the people that heard the gunshots, they didn't react at first because they're used to hunting, they're used to being around. And my friend kind of laughed, was like, you know, that area, you're not wrong.
Yeah, you are. If you're at a rally like that and you hear gunshots, people did not react because they're used to hearing guns. They either think it's firecrackers or something else, or they don't recognize it right away. But it wasn't because of, like, everybody's like, probably, is that 556? Is Charlie hunting again? Goddamn, we're trying to listen to this thing and he's over duck hunting and something. Get the fuck out of here. This is not deer season. Like, nobody looked at their fucking watch. What's wrong with you?
I mean, he's in veteran country. He's, you know, this
is veteran country.
It's not like, you know, Beverly Hills. And so
I would assume there's some veterans that live in Beverly Hills. You're right that there's not, I guess, open rifle fire and hunting going on in Beverly Hills often.
And, you know, people kind of kept their cool. They didn't rush out of that. They just were looking around, looking where the threat was.
No, they weren't. They started screaming almost immediately. There was a return of fire, and then everybody stampeded the fuck out of there. The only person that stood there like nothing was going on was JFK Jr.
It is amazing to me that it took that long. So don't tell me you can't armchair quarterback it. So what the hell happened?
Hey, anybody can armchair quarterback anything. Doesn't mean you're right. Doesn't mean you're not a dumbass.
American people are owed answers.
I agree. Why was a loner allowed to not hit with a red flag law at some point, apparently, or we have a way of limiting the amount of guns in places, or at least tracking where they are? Why can't we Apple AirTag all rifles so we know how many guns are in the area? And if you remove the Apple AirTag from your gun, you know, without permission or concealed carry permit, then you get fined, or you get sent to jail. How about that? How about that? Then we'd know if there was a gun on the fucking roof because it would ping. Still have the right to have it, but we would know you were there.
We are owed answers on this.
Yes, like why is there's not a hole in his fucking ear? That's just blood. That's clipped. I think it hit it right on the outside. So why did he have a giant piece of square cloth over his ear when he didn't necessarily while he was golfing? Where, by the way, he made a joke about how he doesn't miss putts, unlike the shooter who missed him, who killed one of his supporters, whose family he's still not called.
Because we go through an election. We go through this cycle, and we have a very protected process in the United States. We are so unbelievably unique. The bloodless transfer of power.
Oh, fuck off, lady. You do realize who you're talking about, right? We tried to have that. We didn't have a bloodless transfer of power last time because of this motherfucker. Good Lord.
And I'm
next up, you're going to tell me that the left are all gun nuts.
Telling you.
And man, ever since the left put down Mao and Karl Marx and started reading the Turner Diaries and the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, the country's really taken a turn.
There are questions. A bystander saw. Maybe the bystanders should have called the ATF and said, "Oh, hey, there's a dog on the roof." Maybe they should have done that.
No, you don't call the ATF if there's a dog on the roof. You call Christy Nome.
If they wanted that threat neutralized, maybe that's what they should have done.
I don't know what she said. There must be some other story about somebody's dog got shot. Like, you know what I mean? When they come in and somebody's got a dog that bites or whatever, and the ATF comes into some place and they have to kill the dog because it's attacking somebody. It's more than likely where she's going with this shit. But again, unrelated, hyper focus.
And what gets me is when the FBI said, "Oh, we think he acted alone." Really?
No, they didn't say they think he acted alone. They have no evidence that he had any help, and they believe from what they've seen that he acted alone. They're still looking, though. They're going through his phone, they're going through his hard drives, they're talking to his family, they're talking to his friends, they're talking to people at work, they're interviewing people that might have sold him shit and all that stuff. This ain't a belief system. They're seeking whatever facts they can find to the limit of the facts that are available.
And you're telling me that everybody here, they couldn't see this dude? But they can.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I think Trump should reevaluate why and how he picks his team, because he seems to surround himself with a bunch of Walt Nadas, and they're too busy looking at him.
And hunt down every single person who skipped past the Capitol on January 6th, run them down, get all of them. Really?
No, not really, because there's like fucking 4,000 people attacked the Capitol, and about 600 of them went to jail.
But they're going to
yeah, Biden's live in Vegas. I know. He gave a speech at the NAACP today, too.
Drug before much is known about the guy. Oh, we think he acted by himself. There was this story I told you about the local cop who confronted this guy. New York Post has the story moments before shots rang out, as all these bystanders spotted him on the roof of this, 130 yards from the stage. 130 yards from the stage. Police were notified. One officer, according to the New York Post, climbed the ladder to investigate. This is according to numerous law enforcement officials who told the Associated Press this on the condition of anonymity. So they're telling on their guy. The officer, whose department had been enlisted by the Secret Service to help with security, encountered the murderer who pointed his rifle at him. The officer then backed down the ladder. That's when Crooks immediately took aim and fired shots.
Yeah, the cop saw it. The gun was pointed at him. He ducked it on cover. He turned to fire again, and the guy didn't come up fast enough to fire on him. And then the sharpshooter, he probably was radioing, "There's a guy on the gun," blah, 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 and the sharpshooters were like, "Clear," because they told him to get the fuck out of the way. He didn't go back up and shoot the guy because of that reason. Because, look, feel free to Monday morning quarterback all of this shit, because it's not going to do you any good. And let me see real quick. Let's see. Grab this real quick. Let's see. There's got to be yeah. 1 second. Pulling something up. Let's see. 1 day ago. Right now. Today. All right. Yeah, this is the NAACP convention in Vegas. This was earlier, though. Hold on. The audio on this, when I saw it earlier, was pretty terrible. But the audio on it was like, I don't know, maybe they pick it up better on this feed. But when I watched it on NBC earlier, it was like a room mic the entire time. And I gotta say, NBC's not firing on all cylinders when it comes to supporting Biden these days. If they're supposedly in the tank for him, so the idea that they wouldn't that they would not give him the best audio. Wouldn't be surprising. Yes? Hold on. So I'll show you this.
My name is Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP.
My name's Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP. What's with Adam Schiff? I'll tell you what it is, chat room. He's on a delay. There's a bunch of people that are on a fucking delay. They're on this like bell curve of decision making and information that's behind the normal trend of stuff, and that tends to be in policy. That can be a good thing because you're not just jumping on whatever comes out in terms of the public. You're you listen for a little bit and then you make your decision. In some cases like this, though, when the public will start to fade in that idea and you'll jump on right at the peak and you'll talk shit for days. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, I'm going to look for one. That's what I was looking for, was another better audio version of it. Let's see. Full strength is the Associated Press. Go back to here. Here's a real quick.
My name is Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP. And I am all in. My word, I am all in. President Johnson, thanks for the introduction and for your leadership. Most of all, for your friendship. Thanks to all the thousands of members across America. One of the most important organizations in our country. A special thanks, I mean this sincerely, to the members of Congress who are here, including Nevada's own Stephen Horstman, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. I don't know where he is, but I know he's out there. As so many members
He's milling around.
defending freedom, like Benny Thompson of Mississippi, chair of the January 6th Committee. The best friend anyone can have, Jim Clyburn of South Carolina.
Yeah, they're coming with him to all these events, which is totally great.
In case you didn't notice, Jim turned around. Look,
In case you didn't notice, Jim turned it around for me in 2020. And he's absolutely right, and he gives him credit for it, as he should.
1947, Harry Truman became the first president to speak at this convention. And he was remembered for a lot of things. To help the NAACP, he desegregated the military. He laid the groundwork for the civil rights agenda. He built upon President Kennedy by that. President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 64, 60 years ago. Harry Truman was president. Was often counted out. He was also known for something else. The story goes, Truman said, "You want a friend in Washington? Get a dog." Guess what? After the last couple weeks, I know what he means.
Also, by the way, I would like to say for the record, Truman is why I'm a Freemason. Because Harry Truman, when he was president, he was doing his whistle stops, right? He went back through Indiana where his original lodge was, where he became a Mason. And it was desegregated, as many of the northern lodges were at that time. And he went there, and the master of the worshipful master of the lodge, the person who's in charge of running the lodge at that time, which is a democratically elected position amongst the people in the lodge, was a black janitor from a local high school. So the lodge that brought up Harry Truman as a Freemason, the head of the lodge in the fucking 40s or whatever was a black man. And at the worshipful master said, called him Mr. President. And he said, no. He goes, here we're all on the level, which is where that phrase comes from. In Freemasonry, everybody's on the level because the level is where we all are. And then the only person elevated is the worshipful master. The only person that you give deference to is the cat in the hat, the guy who's running things. And you speak to him as an exalted position because he earned it amongst his brethren. And Truman said, no, here you are the worshipful master. I'm just Brother Harry. And in 1970, maybe that's not as big a deal. Certainly not in 1980, maybe in the 90s, the 2000s, whatever. But when Harry Truman was fucking president of the United States, that was a gigantic fucking deal. He was respectful and deferential to the head of the lodge, who was a black janitor who worked nearby, who was voted by his fellow Masons in that lodge as the head of the temple at that point, at that time. That I found that when I was thinking about becoming a Mason, because my grandfather was one, and I was like, I think there's an element of like, behavior and goodness that men need to be indoctrinated in because it's not natural to us, right? It's the lodges, they always say we make good men better, we can't make bad men good. That's not what they do. But the idea is that, they teach you to be a man and respectful of what being a man is all about, right? Raising the level of the quality of you as a human being, okay? And that interested me. And so I was like, this might be a cool thing. I'm not part of a big, mega church or a synagogue or something in LA. I don't have necessarily a network there. So there you go. I'm a 32nd degree Mason. I'm in Scottish Rite. But there's only 3 degrees. That's all that matters. The main 3 degrees. The rest of it's window dressing, and it's just about what kind of a person you are. The rest of the lessons past 3 are it's not like it's like a school. You learn them by seeing them, and then once you see them, you can't unsee them, and therefore you're responsible for your behavior. You know what I mean? It's like a book you read, and people are like, did you like the Bible? I read the Bible. Okay, well then, if you're not living up to it, it's not because you were ignorant. It's because you're an asshole. That's the idea. Okay, so anyways, Truman, that story about him, which I saw I was visiting Kansas, and I went to the Truman Museum because I'm fascinated by history and I'm fascinated by these things. I went to the Truman Museum, and they've got his apron in there. They've got his whole thing. I was like, holy shit. I was not aware, per se, that he was a Mason. So as I looked into that, and then I go to my lodge, which I joined, which was Lodge 42 in Santa Monica in California, and because it was the nearest one to my house. And in the lodge there, not only does the place have my first cell phone number that I had when I came to LA, so but for the area code, the lodge has the same phone number I had when I moved to LA, when I got a cell phone for the first time. Same number, different area code. Super weird. Also, it's Lodge 42, which is, like the universe and everything. So for me, that was an obvious draw. And then I go there, and who do they have a picture of in the entryway to the lodge before you actually go in? They had a singular picture of a president. There's a lot of presidents that were Masons you could put up there. They had a Truman picture. And I was like, this is all right. This is good. This is the spot for me. This is the home for me. So anyways, just letting you know, I found that fascinating. And Truman specifically, it was his desire for an integrated, multiracial country and a full respect for the idea that all men are created equal, that he lived as a human being, is why I was inspired specifically to not wait another 10 years or 5 years or whatever to join and that kind of stuff. It was specifically Truman and the story about his, in a world that was arguably far more racist than it is now, his natural inclination was deference and respect. So that I found, I was specifically inspired by Truman in this. So just letting you know, that's in a related story. Just saying this all fits into that. Oh, thank you, Paisley. What did it say? the Encyclopedia Halleck Lodge 42. No, wait. Yes. There's a Mason temple and a Scottish Rite Lodge down the block from my apartment building. The place is full of gentlemen. How many women Freemasons? There are none. It's a different order. The Eastern Star is the female version of things. Also, women don't need that kind of instruction. Men are particularly immature. Yeah, the Order of the Eastern Star is for women, but they don't need it. It's an add-on. Men need to be matured in a way that women do not. Again, Masonry does not exclude women. It is for men. Right? In the same way that, I guess, in some ways, trans women wouldn't, but trans men could, absolutely. You could be a trans man and be a Mason. No reason why not. So, anyways, point being is that this is, yeah. Your dad was also a Mason, you still have his apron. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I'll be buried in mine. Here, well, I'll show you something. Hold on. Let's see if I can. There's my apron. That's the one that I was actually, and it actually has. Well, I won't show you it, but it has my. This is my Masonic apron, and this is the case that I carried in, so that when I go to a lodge. Yeah. How do you like that? Yeah, for real. So yeah, my 33rd. No, I'm a 32nd. 33. I have to be really old before I'm 33rd, because it's a position of respect, and it means that you've contributed in some major way to either the organization or to humanity as a whole. I think I've done quite a bit. But I would like to say for the record that I have more to do. Yeah? Okay. So, anyways, it's a true story. It's all real. Yep. Masonic Lodge. No, Masonic. Masonic Lodge. How was that classified? No. Everything I say about Masonry, I'm free to say. If I'm not saying it, then it can't be said. Again, we're not a secret organization. We're not a secret society. We're a society with secrets. That's different. And again, it's more about that you have to go through it, the maturation process, because it has value. So if you just tell somebody, it's like giving somebody the answers to a test as opposed to letting them learn the material and take the test, because learning and growing changes you. Okay? It's not that, oh my God, it's a big fucking secret. It's that if you don't learn the secrets organically, it doesn't better you. And yes, I do know where the aliens are. That's all I'm going to say. We get on that side note, and it's super fun. But again, this is probably why I think it's so fucking hilarious when we have when conspiracy shit pops up about this stuff, I just find it, silly. Let's hold on one second. I want to check something, because somebody was showing me I got to open this and put this in here and paste and go. Okay. We'll take this down and stretch this out, because apparently, I don't know if there's video of it. Well, probably. Let's see. It's hard to find the video. Yeah. Let's see if this is da 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 da. Let's see. Nope. That's it. I'm trying to find the. Yeah. I'm trying to find the Rudy. Yeah, the Rudy falling down the steps stuff. Maybe it's on here. There it is. Okay, I think this is it. There you go. Okay, so this is Rudy falls during a walkthrough on the floor of the. Oh, this wasn't even. He walked off and appeared fine. Okay, this isn't even Rudy, like coming on stage or anything. How do you? Okay, well, I guess thanks, Rudy, for checking the carpet to make sure that there's no ruffles in it that will trip people. Apparently, there. Look, if you look at the, in deference to Rudy, if you look, there's flat floor over here, and then there's rug, and there seems to be a drop off. Yeah. Look at these people rushing over to take pictures. Look at these people. Fucking hell. It must be weird to be like so reviled by people that everybody's like, get a shot of him on his ass. And everybody's like, please document this because he might sue us to help pay his bills. Wouldn't that be fucking hilarious? Can I just say, wouldn't that be fucking hilarious? If Rudy Giuliani sues the RNC for a busted ankle and damages and embarrassment and all kinds of shit because they had photographers there who took pictures of him, and he uses the money from the RNC to pay his lawsuit, his $146 million that he owes, wouldn't that be sweet? Come on. I gotta say, that would be hilarious. I'm for it. I support Rudy in suing the RNC. Yeah. There you go. Oh, and some people are asking also in relation to what we were just talking about, is Trump a Mason? No, he is not. He could not be a Mason for a myriad of reasons that I won't get into, but I will say this as well. He could not, going forward, even if he wanted to, or he would be excluded because he has been found guilty of a crime of moral turpitude. Because he's an adjudicated rapist, he cannot be a Mason. Just saying. I don't think Biden is a Mason. No, he's Catholic. So Catholics have the Pope put a bull on Masonry a long time ago. And because they view it as, again, it's a orthodoxy versus a secular idea. And so secular, Masonry is a secular organization. You have to be a believer. You have to believe in something beyond this life to be a Mason, but you don't have to agree on it. As Albert Pike said, everyone's entitled to their own unique mistake. And whether Rudy's been drinking or not, we have no idea, nor do I care. Obviously, again, I think I recommend, if I could, I recommend that Rudy sue the RNC and give all the money to his victims, and then go back to being a broke asshole. Now, let's finish with this because I want to. There's a bunch of stuff we could cover, but I would rather go with this because I watched part of it, but not the whole thing, and I was very aggravated. So, one moment. Yeah, here we go.
Mr. President, thank you.
Okay, this is. All right. This is in sections. Hold on. I want to do the whole interview. Lester Holt interview. Updated 4 hours ago. Guess this is it. Biden's conversation with Trump. Where's the whole fucking thing? I guess it. Okay. Nightly news full of Trump official becoming. I'm trying to find the whole Lester Holt thing uninterrupted, but. Somebody was even saying, like, Biden's very defensive. Like, well, your questions, you're being an asshole. You know what he isn't doing? He isn't suggesting, I guess this is just in chunks, so we'll just do it this way.
Mr. President, thank you.
Hold on one second. We'll go here. This is the Lester Holt interview with Biden, and we'll go through this. There's apparently it's in pieces. So we'll go through what's available here.
Sitting down with us, there's a lot to talk about. I'd like to start with the horrible events of last weekend. It has shocked a lot of Americans. A political rally, your opponent, Donald Trump, shot.
I would also like to say that Lester Holt's forehead, it just, his hairline looks like a Snapchat filter. It's very curious to me. It's natural, whatever, but he is one of the most curious looking fellows we've ever had do the nightly news. His head is the equivalent of Peter Jennings saying L's. Was it Peter Jennings? No, it wasn't Peter Jennings. Who was the guy who always said his L's really funny all the time? Yeah.
In the middle of greeting his supporters. You spoke to Mr. Trump after.
He wasn't in the middle of greeting his supporters. What? Hold on. Tell me again, Lester Holt, newsman. Thank you, Tom Brokaw. Thank you. I don't know why I blitzed on his name. No, Rather's got a great speaking voice. Tom Brokaw is a guy who always had a with his L's. It's a particular accent from, that I've heard other people have. He had the most exaggerated version of it. But anyways, here we go.
It's a political rally. Your opponent, Donald Trump, shot in the middle of greeting his supporters.
He was not shot in the middle of greeting his supporters. He was actually clipped by either a bullet or a piece of glass while he was denigrating immigrants. Hey, in MAGA world, Lester, maybe that qualifies as greeting his supporters. Sure.
You spoke to Mr. Trump afterward. Can you give me a sense of that conversation?
Yeah, one thing I didn't do, not a joke, I didn't ask him why he turned his head at the last minute, because I've seen the whole video and he was looking that way for a whole minute.
Very cordial. I told him how concerned I was and wanted to make sure I knew how he was actually doing. He sounded good. He said he was fine. And he thanked me for calling him. I told him he was...
Also, is anybody bothered by the fact that Lester Holt is just kind of staring and blinking and not really saying anything? Does that not upset anyone? I'm worried that Lester Holt might be mentally slipping. Did you see the video of him? He's just sitting there doing this.
In the prayers of Jill and me, and I hope his whole family was weathering this.
Well, let's talk about the conversation this has started, and it's really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. Focus. I mean, there's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election.
I didn't send a bunch of fucking people up the stairs to hang my vice president and put a bullet in Nancy Pelosi's dome.
I'm not the guy who said that one accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win.
Mr. President, you've been in politics a very long time, so let's speak frankly.
Rumor has it.
We're all adults here.
Are we?
This shooting changed the trajectory of this race?
I don't know, and you don't know either.
I don't know, but something you've given thought to?
No,
I don't know, Lester. Is it something you've given thought to? I don't know. Have I given thought? After you. No, after you. No, after you. Like that. By the way, can I just say, there are very few things, very few answers to these questions that I myself, very specifically, that I myself, like, I know what the answer is going to be most of the time on a lot of these questions. Maybe it's just from watching. Most of the time, if I'm paying attention, I'm like, I know what he's going to say, because I know the talking points on both sides so much because I see them all the fucking time. But can I just say that, like, this is one of the few answers that I've ever heard that actually surprised me in its frankness. Because he literally said, I don't know, and neither do you. Absolutely true. I mean, look at the post, like the devastation. Oh, it was devastating. Oh, the devastating. Oh, God. The debate would be devastating. It's over. It's devastating. And the polls didn't move at all. If anything, they moved in Biden's direction. Like Hispanics and undecideds moved Biden's way. He moved ahead in 538's count of the Electoral College recently. Stuff. Devastating means you're down to 10%. Fuck it, you're done. Devastation has to actually mean something, right? But they throw it out the fucking window, this is devastating, right? And then it didn't turn out to be. And none of them are copping to it. None of them are saying, oh, I was talking out of my ass. Now, I said it wouldn't be because we watched it together, right? As the second, we watched it the second time all the way fucking through. And it wasn't nearly as bad as it was the first time I watched it. And so I was like, yeah, this is not going to be devastating. It's just not. Because looking at it without my own preconceived notion, like the people who drink from the fire hose of news would respond to it from, 2% is devastating. 2%, by the way, Bruce, in plus, like 4 Biden. Yeah. So anyways, the fact that Biden would say, has this changed the trajectory? He goes, I don't know, and neither do you, is fucking brilliant. What a great response.
Has this shooting changed the trajectory of this race?
I don't know, and you don't know either.
I don't know, but
Like, yeah, you don't. Look at don't but nothing. But fucking nothing. How would it change? What do you mean change the trajectory? You thought you were going to win, now you think you're going to lose? What, are you going to try harder? You're going to try less hard? What a bunch of bullshit. He said it, you cop to it. He got you, Lester.
Something you've given thought to?
No, I've thought less about the trajectory of the case than 2 things. One, what his health is, that was secure, number 1. And number 2, what happens from here on in terms of the kind of coverage that the president and vice president and former president and new vice president get in terms of, look, I've never seen a circumstance where you ride through certain rural areas of the country and people have signs there, big Trump signs with a middle sign saying F Biden, and a little kid standing there putting up his middle finger. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that is just...
By the way, way to fucking, tack that onto Lester Holt. Like, putting that thought in his brain and in this interview. Like, you want to talk about how gross this is? You have a little kid giving the finger in front of an F Joe Biden sign. That's got to be part of the problem, part of the conversation about the problem. Damn, just nailing it.
Inflammatory and a kind of viciousness. It's a very different thing than to say, look, I really disagree with Trump's the way he takes care of taxes, the way he wants a $5 trillion tax cut for people who are making a lot of money next time around. Doesn't focus on working class people.
And I asked him about his struggle.
Look at this edit.
In the debate.
Really? You asked him about his struggle in the debate, did you? You mean the questions you wrote during the debate that are no longer relevant?
Calls from some Democrats for him to step aside. Do you feel like you've weathered the storm on this issue of whether...
Oh, sorry, I have new audio. It's a direct quote from one of the Democrats that wants him to step aside. Yeah, put that in your book.
You should be on the ticket or not?
Look, 14 million people voted for me to be the nominee in the Democratic
I was one of them.
Party. Okay? I listened to them.
In your last TV interview, you were asked if you had watched the debate. Your answer was, I don't think so, no. Have you since seen it?
I've seen pieces of it. I've not watched the whole debate.
The president also responding to news of Donald Trump's new vice presidential pick. I want to ask you about, just shortly before you and I sat down, former President Trump named his vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance. What does that tell you, his qualities, what does that tell you about former President Trump's values in terms of who he will surround himself with in a next administration should he win?
Well, it's not unusual. He's going to surround himself with people who agree completely with him. Have a voting record, support him. Even though if you go back and listen to the things that J.D. Vance said about Trump.
President Biden will deliver...
Also, let's see, where's the next... This is Fox News talking about defense supposed remark. Da da da. Joe Biden sits down. Let's all talks all things Trump. Is this the full thing? Hold on. Okay, hold on.
I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election.
He did not sufficiently cover it.
All right, these assholes. Because I want the whole thing. Again, this is also like.
So that was the moment former President Trump came out to lead rift.
There's the dude who said he was a former Nazi and or was it could be our Hitler.
Debate, but
I'll let you decide. Watch it.
Obama put out a statement after the debate, but should he and Michelle Obama be doing more to express their confidence in you?
No, they're helping me. They've helped me from the beginning. This is my job to get this done.
By the way, another great answer. Can you imagine, like, Trump, they ask, imagine, seriously, imagine them asking Trump about one of his cabinet or somebody who said, should they be doing more to support you? People who hadn't turned on him, which is the majority of these people, right? The majority of the people in his cabinet turned on him, will not be voting for him, do not support him, think he's dangerous, all that shit. But there are a few that do. And if he was asked by somebody, you think they should be doing more to support you, right? Trump would fucking shit all over that person. Like, if they know it's good for him, that kind of answer, right? And meanwhile, Biden's like, they're with me since the beginning, but this is up to me. He's taking responsibility. That's what you want in a president and a leader instead of these fucking excuses that Trump throws everywhere.
Have you talked to him recently about this?
I haven't talked to him in a couple weeks. I'm on the horse. Where have you been?
Okay, this is and they've slipped this together. Hold on one second. I'm going to try and find the whole thing if I can. Excellent. Thank you, Andrea. I see that. Tomorrow, our morning show, our guests are going to be the Major and Philip Ittner will be calling in from Ukraine, and we'll be talking about this. Let me grab this. I want the full interview, you rat. Where is it? Here we go. Quit it. I don't care about the writing. All right. Lester Holt, full. See if I get the whole thing. Okay. Lester Holt interviews President Biden Monday. Full interview. There it is. Okay, here we go.
Then President was asked, what do you think? He said, they're very fine people on both sides. Not fine people. I hope his whole family was weathering this.
Okay, so here we go.
I wanted to make sure I knew how he was actually doing. He sounded good. He said he was fine.
We got this
part.
part.
Violence. Now, we've reached a point where it's early on in 2020 for the 2020 race. I wasn't going to run again because I had lost my son. I didn't feel, and until I watched what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. Those folks coming out of the woods with torches, carrying swastikas, singing the same Nazi bile. It was accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan, and a young woman was killed. And it was a bystander. And the then president was asked, what do you think? He said, they're very fine people on both sides. Not fine people on both sides. No excuse. Zero.
By the way, some people have made an excuse, and they try to fix this all the time. And I would like, maggots, scoot close to the screen so I can explain this to you. When Donald Trump was saying there are very fine people on both sides, he was specifically rooting for a group of people on the maggot side of things, on the tiki torch side of things, which was what he believed was the Daughters of the American Revolution types that weren't there, but that were against the statue being taken down, that wanted this statue of Robert E. Lee to stay up, or these Confederate statues to be up because of heritage and all kinds of bullshit. Now, these statues were not put up during the Civil War, and then we took back the South, and we just left them up because, everybody's got fallen heroes. They were put up in the 50s, many of them, specifically to scare black people out of staying in those cities. Once the country started to open up, this group of people that he's talking about, very fine people, like these statues up because they keep black people from moving into town. So fuck him and fuck them and piss off with this nonsense. There aren't very fine people on both sides of this. There are genteel soft racists who weren't there holding the torches saying Jews will not replace us. but they were supporters of, and the people who very well raised those fucking assholes that were there. So no.
Well, let's talk about the conversation.
The statues were put up in the 20s. The one in particular, I want to say either the Georgia one or the South Carolina one. One of the statues was put up was redone in the 50s, is what I'm referring to, and they were going to melt it down. That was part of the argument about it. But yes, in the 20s, in the 40s, in the 50s, they were all meant to be like chess pieces after the Civil War, saying we still own this area. Fuck that. There are a bunch of them. I mean, because there's a movement at that time. Part of the, what drove the Charlottesville marchers to do it in particular was this movement to get rid of these racist statues all throughout the South.
This has started, and it's really about language, what we say out loud, and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat.
He is.
On a call a week ago, you said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say
words
crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was what I guess I was talking about.
I suppose Lester's still very, very upset about the crosshairs pictures that Sarah Palin put up. Remember that ad that she put up?
The time was there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
What did I say? Did I misspeak? Daughters of the Confederacy. Yes. That's what I was speaking of.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him.
Right. It's a colloquialism. Also, it doesn't matter what the fuck Biden said because it was a Republican that took a pot shot at Trump. And they don't hold back on that kind of language at fucking all.
Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. Focus. I mean, there's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said, I want to be a dictator on day one. Mm-hmm. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said that won't accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus was on.
Again, I'm very worried that Lester Holt is falling asleep or something because he just seems to sit there quietly and blink while the other person is talking.
What he's saying, and I mean, the idea.
But have you taken a step back and done a little soul searching on things that you may have said that.
Like what?
Could incite people who are not balanced?
Well, I don't think, look, how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody? Look,
Right. Yeah. It's a great fucking question. If you're standing in front of a Nazi and you're like, I don't want to call it, and again, I'm using this as an extreme example. Relax, you fucking Nazis. That if you're standing in front of a Nazi and you're like, he's wearing an armband and all this shit, and like, I don't want to call the guy a Nazi. Somebody might take a poke at him. Like, he's literally a German supporter of National Socialism. He's got a tiny little Chaplin mustache. What the fuck am I supposed to say?
Not engaged in that rhetoric. Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses, talking about how he's going to forgive all the, actually, I guess, suspend the sentences of all those who were arrested and sentenced to go to jail because of what happened in the Capitol. I'm not out there making fun of, like, remember the picture of Donald Trump when Nancy Pelosi's husband was hit with a hammer, joking about it?
This doesn't sound like you're turning down the heat, though. You've talked about
No. Look, what I'm turning down, we have to stop the whole notion that there are certain things that are contrary to our democracy that we're for.
No, what he's doing is he's calling out the fact that you are playing a both sides issue with a fucking Donald Trump. All right, if Hunter Biden put out a picture of a Demolition Ranch t-shirt and an AR-15 laying on a fucking bed after this weekend, everybody would flip the fuck out and go, what the hell is wrong with you? Everybody would be enraged. But Donald Trump Jr., after Nancy Pelosi's husband is almost killed, puts a fucking pair of underwear and a hammer on the bed, takes a picture of it and posts it on social media, and you think it's a both sides issue? You fucking kidding me? That is the comparison. You want to direct one-to-one, that's what would have to fucking happen. Lester Holt, you call me when Biden's son, by the way, with his dad signing off on it and saying LOL essentially, being okay with it, not even responding negatively to it. When Hunter Biden posts a picture of an AR-15 and a Demolition Ranch T-shirt and says, "Got my Halloween costume ready." You call us, we'll all be outraged and we'll call for, we got to tone down the heat and everybody's got to change their language. Shut the fuck up.
The idea of saying that I didn't win the election.
Hype train. Come on, Twitch people, let's do this.
When every court in the land, I don't know, 20 appeals said, and including this conservative Supreme Court, said we won. The idea of having a loyalty pledge from all the folks who are in a Republican MAGA, not all Republicans, the MAGA Republicans.
Hey, again, I'd like to point out to all of our idiot maggot trolls, do you notice the distinction he just made? It's a distinction he always makes between Republicans and MAGA, and that MAGA and Republicans are not a permanent overlap. And every time you hear a maggot go, he's vilifying every Republican that's out there. No, that's you trying to use the rest of the Republican base as cover for your stupid shit.
Saying that, no, we lost the election, inflaming the people that say,
So what can you and what will you do, at least things you can control to look?
I'll call Trump and tell him to knock it off. What do you mean? What are you going to say to Trump about his vitriol? When Democrats start having ads where we shoot cars, here's a great example. How about this? To push back on electric cars, Marjorie Taylor Greene shoots a fucking hybrid with a 50 cal rifle, right? And blows it up in an ad. All right. When a left-wing environmentalist candidate running for the Democratic office that actually has a shot or that's already in and is running for re-election blows up a gas car and says, "You got it coming, oil-driven vehicles," and it explodes, and then they joke about it afterwards, then you call us. Then we'll go, what the fuck? We need to tamp this down on all sides.
Lower down the temperature, the rhetoric out there.
Continue.
Tell him to stop being a Nazi and I'll stop calling him one. What do you want? I mean, that's kind of the answer. I'm exaggerating it, but.
You to talk about the things that matter to the American public. Mm-hmm. It matters whether or not you accept the outcome of elections.
Yep.
It matters whether or not you, for example, talk about how you're going to deal with the border instead of talking about people as being vermin. Those things matter. That's the kind of language that is inflammatory.
Yeah, what he's telling you, Lester, is that he doesn't use inflammatory language. And when he uses vernacular stuff like bullseye, the way the rest of us use bullseye because we're not lunatic gun nuts, you have to at some point recognize we're not the fucking problem. Because even when people are calling Trump a Nazi, they're calling to vote him out. Still, even though they think he's a Nazi.
Mr. President, you've been in politics a very long time, so let's speak frankly. We're all adults here. Has this shooting changed the trajectory of this race?
I don't know, and you don't know either.
I don't know, but have something you've given thought to?
No.
I don't know, and you don't know, and nobody can know, and it's just happened, and nobody can possibly know. It's unknowable, but have you thought about the unknowable? Philosophically speaking?
I've thought less about the trajectory of the case than two things. One, what his health is, that was secure.
Well, I mean, have you seen his diet? Donald Trump literally believes that you're born with a limited number of heartbeats, and when you run out, you die. You can't get between him and that bullet. Nobody can.
number one. And number two, what happens from here on in terms of the kind of coverage that the president and vice president and former president and new vice president get in terms of, look, I've never seen a circumstance where you ride through certain rural areas of the country and people have signs there, big Trump signs with middle signs saying F Biden, and a little kid standing there putting up his middle finger. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that is just inflammatory and a kind of viciousness. It's a very different thing than to say, look, I really disagree with the way he takes care of taxes, the way he wants a $5 trillion tax cut for people who are making a lot of money next time around. Doesn't focus on working class people.
But those are policy issues, and we...
Yes, they are. That's the only thing that's left over when both of these guys are gone. No matter what happens, no matter how Trump or Biden leave the fucking earth, what's going to be left behind is their policies and how those policies played out. Sorry, you're not going to be able to find one or other of their skulls in a gravesite in the future 1,000 years from now and go, was this guy a good guy or a bad guy? You're only going to know by the impact that they had while they were alive.
Our history is a country that can thoroughly hash out those issues.
And if you notice, what do I talk about with him? The policy issues where he's dividing the country, the policy issues that relate to democracy.
Another question, if I can, about Saturday. Of course, the former president was wounded. One of his supporters died. A couple more people were seriously injured. Was this a massive security failure?
I have had 2 meetings in the Situation Room with all the intelligence communities, the FBI, Secret Service, et cetera, and I've asked for a totally independent analysis, and we'll see what happens when that comes back.
Do you have confidence in the Secret Service? Do you feel safe?
I feel safe with the Secret Service, but look, and you saw what we did see was the Secret Service who responded risked their lives in responding. They're ready to give their lives to the president. The question is, should they have anticipated what happened? Should they have done what they needed to do to prevent this from happening? That's a question that's an open question.
Is it acceptable that you have still not heard, at least publicly, from the Secret Service director?
Well, I've heard from them.
But have you heard from her?
Oh, by the way, he said, I've heard from them. And a bunch of people are saying he said him. Listen to this again, real quick. Just real quick.
From the Secret Service director?
Oh, I've heard from them.
Oh, I've heard from them. Listen again.
At least publicly from the Secret Service director?
Oh, I've heard from them.
But have you heard from her publicly?
Publicly, I've sat down in a Situation Room downstairs. The Secret Service, the FBI, the national security agencies, the Homeland Security, all the major elements. And there's 2 pieces of this, too. And it's
Yeah. He said from him. Yeah, he means them. Yes, absolutely. But they're jumping in with, like, he said him, and it's a her because he thinks they're trying to protect the fact that it was a woman and DEI and all that bullshit. They're too busy shitting on the women in the team who put their lives in danger to, they think that's the breakdown.
Excuse or just ignore an explanation. There's a major piece of this relates to domestic, local law enforcement. They play a large role. And so it's a different I'm not saying they weren't competent either. I'm just saying it's a complicated process. And what has changed, by the way, Lester, is, you know me, I like to meet people. I like to walk out, shake hands, move, look at people in the eyes, see what they're thinking. It's really curtailed that ability on my part and everybody's part. And so, because there's a heightened notion that when you say there's nothing wrong with going to the Capitol, breaking in, threatening people, a couple cops dying, hanging up, putting up a noose, a gallows for the former vice president. And somehow and then you say you're going to forgive people for that? You're going to pardon them? That was just a normal response? That is not. I have my entire career voted against and railed against and moved against the idea of violence is never appropriate. Never, 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 never in politics.
All right, I want to ask you about some other developing news today, if I can. Judge Cannon dismissed the documents case, as you may have heard, in Mar-a-Lago. Can I first get your
Yeah, she recused herself in the dumbest way possible, and it's her only way out.
reaction to that?
I don't think he's going to say that, but
I'm not surprised. It comes from the immunity decision the Supreme Court ruled on, and Clarence Thomas, in his dissent, said that independent prosecutors appointed by the Attorney General aren't legit. That's the basis on which this judge moved to dismiss. And, but I had an independent prosecutor look at me. They spent months on my going through, and I was totally cooperative in and out of my house. There were, I don't know, the last time in, there were like 10, 12 agents in my house for 9 hours unaccompanied, going through every single thing I had. That's appropriate. And they looked at me and concluded I didn't do a damn thing wrong. But my generic point is that it's...
You should be able to stand up to that scrutiny and be okay with it.
Well, the basis upon which the case was thrown out, I find specious because I don't agree with Clarence Thomas' dissent and or the Supreme Court decision on immunity.
In light of this decision, the delay in the Georgia...
Which is very reassuring that you have a Democratic president who doesn't believe he is all-powerful. A bunch of people wish he was, but...
Georgia case.
You should be really glad he isn't, or Trump would have been, or Bush would have been, or Bush 1 would have been, or fucking Reagan would have been.
The Supreme Court decision on immunity, which you referenced, the former president has seen a series of legal wins recently. You have actively campaigned on his legal woes. Can you do anything like that anymore?
Well, sure. I can talk about what I think is appropriate. What I think is appropriate. I think the Supreme Court made a terrible decision. I think the justices he appointed have, in fact, been the most conservative. And I would argue, if you survey constitutional scholarship, they seem out of touch with what the founders intended.
Before this violent turn of events over the weekend, the talk, as you know, was about you and your future, if you should stay in the race. Your allies, James Clyburn, Nancy...
By the way, you notice when these questions are coming up, it's kind of important. Watch how Biden starts smiling when these questions come up. He's not going anywhere. He's not being ousted. It ain't fucking happening.
Pelosi have...
And he's going to win.
Kind of put it out there that they're waiting for your decision, giving you time to make your decision. What I hear from you is that...
Yeah, for weeks.
You made your decision.
Yeah, he did.
Are you still comfortable in that decision? Has anything changed in the last several days?
No.
Are you being wishy-washy about the thing that you shouldn't be wishy-washy at all about? By the way, I love his answer.
You made your decision. Are you still comfortable in that decision? Has anything changed in the last several days?
No.
What do you make of...
That's it. Again, I gotta say, for a dude who's supposedly all gaff and shit like that, right? And you know, tends to be, you know, pontificate like a senator and talk and all that. And so much of, like, there's a bunch of questions where they asked him, you know, there was one, I think somebody showed a clip of him a while back where they're like, do you think you can, shorten your answers, you know, and not act like a senator now that you're president? And he went, yes. It reminds me of the scene in L.A. Story. If you've never seen that movie, you should, where they're going, Sheila's taking a conversation, a class in conversation. And he goes, oh, you're taking a class in conversation? She goes, yes. And he's like, that was it. That's the whole part.
Of people like Nancy Pelosi, though, who seem to be of the opinion that there is a window for you to make this choice. What aren't they getting?
Look,
how do I do this without being a complete asshole?
We knew this was going to be a close race from the moment he announced. Mm-hmm. The idea that we are in a situation where, if you look at all the polling data shows a lot of different things, but there's no wide gap between us. It's essentially a toss-up race. And I think one of the arguments that get made, you have the most successful presidency of any president in modern history, maybe since Franklin Roosevelt. Passed more major legislation no one thought could get done. We're able to put together consensus. We're able to...
He passed gun legislation, for fuck's sake. That's, I mean, people forget that, but Jesus Christ.
NATO, we're able to deal in foreign policy. Why don't you just decide to rest on those laurels? And the answer is because the job's not finished.
Do you feel like you've weathered the storm on this issue of whether you should be on the ticket or not?
Look, 14 million people voted for me to be the nominee in the Democratic Party. Okay? I listen to them.
In your last TV interview, you were asked if you had watched the debate, and your answer was, I don't think so, no. Have you since seen it?
I've seen pieces of it. I've not watched the whole debate.
And the reason I ask, because...
Yeah, why would you? He was there.
I guess the question is, are you all on the same page? Are you seeing what they saw, which was moments of, frankly, that appeared to be, you appeared to be confused?
Lester, look.
Lester, look. Donald Trump was 8 feet away from me, shitting his pants loudly. And because his microphone was turned off, or mine was turned off when he was speaking, all I could do was be downwind from this shitstorm. And if you were standing there, you'd look horrified too. What you need to do is go talk to Dana Bash and Jake Tapper and ask if their eyes have stopped watering.
Why don't you guys ever talk about the 28 lies he told? Where are you on this? Why didn't the press ever talk about that? 28 times it's confirmed he lied in that debate. I had a bad night. I wasn't feeling well at all. And I had been, without it making it, I screwed up. But
I just asked a question because...
This is like, by the way, he starts to explain it, and then he's like, I don't want to, I screwed up. He takes responsibility for it. This is what you're supposed to fucking do.
The idea that you may or...
By the way, Lester Holt and Stephanopoulos both want to be the guys that have him on tape when he goes, maybe I need to step down. They want that moment on tape. They want to be the guy that poked him into that. And he's not going for it. Nor should he.
Or may not have seen what...
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Amen to yourself as well. And as a 61-year-old youngster, I find Lester to be a patronizing a-hole. Yeah, that's what I'm saying here. Now, the question is he being a patronizing a-hole because that is what is expected in this interview, or because he's got to look like he pushed Biden to his uppers so that they can put the gloves back on when he leaves and go, okay, we settled it. I asked him a bunch of tough questions and now we're back on his side. That's entirely possible if they feel that way. I doubt it, but this is a bunch of shit. He and Stephanopoulos both want to be the guys that get him on record as saying I'm stepping down, or I might step down, or something, or leaving a window open that they could use this chunk to drive a conversation about it for the next 3 weeks. The problem they have, and I guess the solution that they found, is that when he says no very distinctly, those folks in the rest of the news organization around him go ahead and have that conversation anyways. I mean, we saw Rachel Maddow do it. Like, he says, no, I'm not going anywhere. Or when you ask yourself, who do you talk to, or who do you rely on for big decisions? And he said, me. Like, she kind of jumped on that. And if he just said, well, I talked to this person, the cycle of news would have been about, are these people giving him bad advice? And since he said me, then they're like, is he insulated or whatever? There is no win. It is a terminal hypothetical.
Some of these other folks have seen. You're not on the same...
I'd have to see. I was there. I'd have to see it. I was there. And by the way, seriously, you won't answer the question, but why didn't the press talk about all the lies he told?
Well,
I haven't heard anything about that.
We have reported many of the issues that came up during that debate.
No, you haven't.
We'll provide you with them.
God love you.
Okay.
Yeah, do you know, he's like, well, we did. We reported on the issues. We do. Like, look at him looking down. He's like, God love you. Like, no, you won't. By the way, Lester, the next time you interview him, ask him, hey, did you get that tape we sent you of me talking about these things? No, because they're not going to fucking do it. They absolutely did not.
President Obama put out a statement after the debate, but should he and Michelle Obama be doing more to express their confidence in you?
No, they're helping me. They've helped me from the beginning. This is my job to get this done.
Have you talked to him recently?
I gotta say, like, the tightness of his answers on a lot of these things is fucking great. It's, you know, because I gotta say, like, I like the policies of the guy, and I know this, you know, the stories from reading the biographies of the Obama years and stuff about him being against the surge and other stuff and being right about a lot of this shit, that I was, like, aware of how he felt about things. So I, you know, and as a continuation of the ideas that were in the Obama-Biden administration, I was like, oh, yeah, he's totally got my vote. And, you know, even beyond Trump as an issue, I was very comfortable, obviously, voting for Biden. But the more I see him interviewed, the more I approve, the happier I am with my vote.
About this?
I haven't talked to him in a couple weeks.
Have you talked to him since this issue came to light, since the debate?
I don't think, I may have, I don't think so.
Who do you listen to on deeply personal issues like the
This is the part where that Rachel jumped on.
decisions whether to stay in the race or not?
Me. Look, I've been doing this a long time. The idea that I'm the old guy, I am. I'm old. But I'm only 3 years older than Trump, number one. And number two,
and as Indiana Jones said, it's not the years, it's the mileage.
mental acuity's been pretty damn good. I've gotten more done than any president has in a long, long time, in 3.5 years. So I'm willing to be judged on that. I understand why people.
Also, one of the things you keep hearing about this interview was that I've seen it a bunch of places, about how Biden was defensive. First of all, he's being attacked the entire time. And even when he's defensive about this shit, he pushes back, but he's being reasonable about it. And he didn't call he called Lester Holt out, but he didn't call him an asshole or a threat to the public or the enemy of the country or any of that shit.
People say, God, he's 81 years old. Whoa. What's he going to be when he's 83 years old or 84 years old? It's a legitimate question to ask.
I want to ask you about, just shortly before you and I sat down, former President Trump named his vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance. What does that tell you, his qualities, what does that tell you about former President Trump's values in terms of who he will surround himself with in the next administration should he win?
Well, it's not unusual. He's going to surround himself with people who agree completely with him. Have a voting record. I support him. Even though if you go back and listen to the things that J.D. Vance said about Trump.
Well, he said some things about you, yeah.
Oh, no, well, he said something about me, but see what he said about Trump. What's with you guys?
By the way, I gotta say, this is a totally natural response. Like, that was a weird sentence. Listen to fucking Lester Holt say this again. He said some things about you. Of course he's gonna all Republicans talk about Biden in the most vile ways. That's not, who gives a shit? The news part is that Vance called him, he said he could be America's Hitler and that he was an asshole. That's news. Good Lord.
He said something about me, but see what he said about Trump. What's with you guys? Come on, man. Look, the point I'm making is that.
Look at Lester like flipping through his questions. Like, look, listen to this again.
With him. Have a voting record. I support him. Even though if you go back and listen to the things that J.D. Vance said about Trump.
Well, he said some things.
And by the way, like, you know, Biden's definitely getting into a point here. The point is like, look back at what J.D. Vance has said about Trump. That's fucking news. It is. It's very weird, right? Specifically, he could be America's Hitler and he's a con artist and a bullshit artist and all that shit. Look how fast fucking Lester Holt jumps in with this. He said some things about you. Like, of course he fucking has.
People agree completely with him. Have a voting record. I support him. Even though if you go back and listen to the things that J.D. Vance said about Trump.
Look how fast this is.
Well, he said some things about you, yeah.
Like, look how fast that response is. It's weirdly childish. Is it just me? Chat room? Isn't that fucking odd?
Oh, no, well, he said something about me, but see what he said about Trump. What's with you guys? Come on, man. Look, the point I'm making is that...
Lester's like, where the... What? I don't know. Oh, these were my questions for Trump about J.D. Vance. Shit.
J.D. Vance has adopted the same policies. No exceptions on abortion, making sure that he supports the new $5 trillion tax cut that Trump wants to give in the next administration. Signing on to the whole notion of whether or not we're going to, he says there's no climate change happening. I mean, he signed on to the Trump agenda, which he should if he's running with Trump.
Mr. Trump has said he's giving you a chance to redeem yourself, basically the idea of engaging in another debate.
We're going to have another debate.
Yeah, you're going to have one in September that's on the books. Would you be open to doing one in the next few weeks?
NBC didn't get on there, so they're trying to hey, you could do it here.
I'm going to debate him when we agreed to debate, and I'm going to debate him in September.
But if the opportunity came up to do one between...
I got shit to do. I'm being president, Lester.
Now and then... Is there a sense of wanting to get back on the horse?
I'm on the horse. Where have you been? I've done 22 major events. Met thousands of people. Overwhelming crowds. A lot happening. I'm on the horse. What I'm doing is going out and demonstrating to the American people that I have command of all my faculties, that I don't need notes, I don't need teleprompter. I can go out and answer any questions at all. And I stood there when NATO was in town. I stood there for an hour and answered questions.
If you were to continue to run and be...
Shut the fuck... Fuck you. He said he's going to, you asshole. Stop it with the if. This is just being a dick now. Fuck you with the if. What's wrong with you? He already told you 4 fucking times. It wasn't even namby-pamby. He was like, no.
Officially nominated. What happens if you have another...
See, and his response, I gotta say, he's laughing it off. It's a dick question, but he's taking it in stride.
Episode like we saw during the debate.
What happens if another?
Yeah, what happens if you have another performance on that on that level?
I don't plan on having another performance on that level.
All right. Mr. President, it's always good to talk to you, good to see you. Thank you for making some time for us.
Sometimes come and talk to me about what we should be talking about.
All right.
Okay, the issues.
Always happy to talk. That was our unedited conversation with President Biden.
Yes, we should remind everyone that I was apologetic afterwards, off camera, about what an asshole I was, but that, it helped us sell toilet paper.
Note, we extended the same interview offer to Mr. Trump to sit down with us on the first night of the Democratic National Convention when it happens next month. For now, let me bring in my colleague Savannah Guthrie in Milwaukee with more of our coverage of both our interview and night 1 of the Republican National Convention. Savannah, good evening.
All right, Lester, thank you. We'll see you here in Milwaukee tomorrow night. Lots to chew over.
Yeah, lots to chew over. Jesus Christ. Chat room, I went long, obviously, because we went into that. And I was like, I thought it was important to cover. Total unedited interview with Lester Holt, where I got to say, Lester was kind of an asshole. Asked the same dumb questions that Stephanopoulos did because he clearly had written those questions down weeks ago. And the public and Biden and everybody else have fucking moved on from this. Honestly, it is seriously only this narrow group of also rans and never wases that don't like Biden to start with, who are like, this is our shot to go after him. The TYT adjacent assholes, right? And again, they're welcome to come after him. But can we stop pretending they make up a plurality of even their chunk of the electorate? Because they fucking well don't. First of all, the TYT crowd don't even represent voters. Most of the people who watch their show either don't vote at all or vote like third party and fuck around. They are not integral to a shift in the electorate. They, in a couple of cycles, they started to build like a groundswell trying to get some of the squad elected or something like that. And it didn't last. because they spend so much time shitting on the government as a whole, nobody comes back for a second dip. So they can't even keep the people that they're interested in office without the general electorate. So the idea that they're going to be the ones that bang the drum and Biden's going to dance to it is just dumb. It's not fucking going to happen. Also, I want to thank Sheldon. Thanks for that. Joe is running circles around Lester. I agree. And non-useful, thank you very much as well. And Sheldon says, what a great man Joe is. We're fortunate to have him. Sorry, I can't read everything because they're small gray type in there. But thank you guys so much. Orange poop is the worst. Well, sure. Yeah. I agree. In the meantime, if I may, God damn, there's so much to cover. Tomorrow morning, the major's going to be with us. We'll be talking about a lot of this that went on, and certainly it's our first time talking to Phil in Ukraine about what happened with Trump and maybe some of the reaction to this. But I got to say, like, for the most part, Trump did not get a bump from the attempt on his life, nor should he. That's not why you vote for somebody. I will say there is a piece of good news. I'm not going to do the clip because I don't have time and it's a bunch of bullshit. But can I just if you look at the thumbnail, it's so fucking on the nose, and you can tell it's like this double bluff way of dragging audience in. Check out fucking Cenk and the fucking TYT assholes. Dems throw in the towel. And he's got this look on his face, and Biden smiling in the background. I don't know what the red dot is on his nose right there. Like whoever made the graphic just didn't bother, or they drew something and then erased it and missed a spot, something like that. Anyways, Dems cower to Biden after rally shooting. Congressional Democrats are throwing in the towel on trying to replace Biden. President Joe Biden is the Democratic nominee. Cenk Uygur and John Laterola discussed the Young Turks. Discuss on the Young Turks? Yeah, okay. Anyways, sorry, asshole. Yeah, you have no impact. Don't get me wrong. Cenk has had an impact before. He's softened the vote when Hillary Clinton was in, and is responsible in large part for the faux-gressives in a couple of states that drove down the vote in an area where people refused to vote for Hillary Clinton, or threw their vote behind Jill Stein, or threw their vote behind Trump as a fuck you to the country that gave us the Supreme Court. Yeah, so absolutely there was an impact. The other impact, of course, that Cenk had personally was when he ran for his House seat, spent all of his time attacking the Democratic woman who was running for office to make sure that she didn't get in office. And now that area has a Republican male senator, or a House representative. So he was made sure that another woman didn't end up elected as a Democrat in the House of Representatives. So great work there. Just spent all his time attacking a woman candidate right when we needed it. You know what I mean? Because we got too many of them. I mean, nothing says, true, Young Turks like the Armenian genocide. Sorry, I mean, like making sure that DEI women don't get elected. Anyways, he's butthurt and stupid, and it's over, and doesn't matter, and everything that they've been crying for and trying to rally about and all that shit didn't go anywhere. Waste of fucking time, waste of breath, not happening. And everything I've been talking about has paid off so far. So I stand by my record, ladies and gentlemen, if I may. And I feel confident going forward that I'll keep you guys well informed and have at least a functional and realistic opinion of stuff that is, of course, generally optimistic, because that's how I live. That's how I live and how I love as a person. It's very important. And in terms of the I don't know, the rest of the RNC, the upcoming DNC, the vote itself, and all that stuff, just remember, the best is yet to hit that like, everybody. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you later. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., the Major and Phil will be with us for a 2-hour show, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 9 to 11, and then the afternoon show, 3 to 5-ish. There's a lot to talk about. See you later.